Welcome back to the DigiDM's Guide to Dawn of Defiance, the Star Wars 5e conversion using Foundry Virtual Tabletop. I've got 3D Canvas enabled here if you're curious about that. This is my landing page for my players where they can click on their characters and check out their loot and write in their journals and whatnot. We are going over the GM's Guide to Episode 2, A Wretched Hive. So our players have just escaped the planet of Felucia and hopefully saved the former Admiral Nathan Gilder, or Gilder Varth, or Nathan Varth. It's different in the writing, so choose the name that works for you. They meet up with the Resurgence, the Nebulan B frigate, and Admiral Gilder is debriefed and provides the heroes and Senator Organa with information related to a top secret Imperial project. He says that he was to arrange an exchange of resources through a Hutt crime lord on the planet Ko Neimoidia, and Captain Barana orders the players to investigate. Serona O'Keefe remains their pilot on the Banshee, along with her co-pilot Crash RX-13. And I calculated 8 days to Ko Neimoidia from the space where the Resurgence was hanging out. They are not in a core area, they're just sort of in unknown regions. So there's some wiggle room here. It's not explicitly stated. If you want your players to have downtime activities, it's a great time to do so. You can also have them practice astrogation checks to determine if it's longer or shorter than 8 days to arrive. They arrive to a war-torn, post-Clone Wars, Ko Neimoidia, and there is no visible Imperial presence. The Banshee docks at the city of Zara for a daily fee. I believe I had my players charge 40 credits per day, and they gave the docking bay 4 days in advance. So Serona stayed with the Banshee along with Crash as my players investigated. The adventure includes some sample citizens to build the scene and allow for some role play. As they arrive at Ko Neimoidia, their sample citizens include Kret, a cantina owner, a male Neimoidian, Nilia, a spaceport administrator, Vigro, a speeder repairman, Salit, a beggar, Shas, a trader, and Dessen, a laborer, Borlo, an imperial informant. So just to sort of flesh out the city a little bit. And then the Vipers arrive, led by a violent human female by the name of Kesra, who, with her gang of swoop bike members, tries to shake down the party. My players did fairly well, so I had to pull a GM stunt in order to have Kesra escape alive, and we will get to why that is later. Once they escape the Vipers, they have to gather some info about the Hutt. And this is going to be a theme for the next episode as well. Chasing down Darga the Hutt. You got to give the sense that he's not easy to find. These are slimy Hutt crime lords, of course. Talking and bribing the right people might lead the party to him. So they eventually get the name of an errand boy by the name of Warwick Raiden. I think someone refers to him as Womprat Raiden. Oops, I'm in the wrong section. Warwick Raiden is a Deveranian, and he is, an errand boy. I sort of have him as a thug. He's got some skills, but for the most part, he's just sort of a rat. So they must find him in an abandoned warehouse with some goons. I had a good time with the abandoned warehouse scene, which I will show the night version of it here. So in this warehouse, we got a couple of features. We have these excavation droids, which have a leaping strike feature, and their excavation tools. They do have a climb speed, so I used that to my advantage as I was operating in 3D. Warwick has several thugs around, and the battle was a lot of fun. The leaping strike does deal double damage when they hit, and since I was playing in 3D, I used their climbing ability to get onto the roof of this abandoned building. There's some broken speeder and some debris kind of things, but ultimately, they should want to keep Warwick alive since he's the one information, but if they don't, you could always have a data pad on his person with directions to the Hutt's palace. So my players bound and forced him to lead them to the palace, to lead the players to the palace. And there's a fun description of the adventure where they talk about taking a speeder, weaving in and out and up and down the layers of the broken streets of Zara to eventually find the palace, essentially really emphasizing the Clone Wars and how it decimated this region. My players, when they went to the palace doors, and my players definitely didn't want to just walk up. So as you can see, I don't really have a way to get in other than through the main door. I've got guards here. I sort of railroaded them to have to approach the palace doors head on. And so I had Raiden lead them right to there and didn't give them much of a chance. So you might have to do some GM magic so your players don't try to sneak in, or have another option if they do sneak in. Maybe they get caught and they're still welcomed in. Make it known that this isn't just a bust in and kill the Hutt kind of thing, but they're actually trying to gather information. So just coming in and trying to shoot the place up is not going to be successful and will lead them in probably very perilous circumstances. So they are to ingratiate themselves with the Hutt in order to learn more about the Sarlacc project and how the Hutt is involved. In order to also emphasize that this wasn't just a go in and shoot the place up mission, I had my players, in order to get in, the security folks up here had to request that they put all their weapons in a bin in order to arrive in. So they could do, sneak checks if they wanted to sneak in a weapon, but essentially I wanted to emphasize that they aren't just going in and shooting the place up. So they get in, they're welcomed by Darga the Hutt, and this is their first face-to-face meeting with Darga, as they probably heard about him. He's going to be a little different if you played Escape from Moshuda or talked about, obviously everyone knows Jabba the Hutt, but Darga as well as the other Hutt from the early adventures of the Saga Edition. So Darga's a little bit more intimidating. This is a higher level, and he's got a very distinct sort of tattoo on his right eye there. So once they meet Darga, he quickly welcomes them in, giving them an opportunity to stay for a few days, obviously based on roleplay and such. And that is a level up opportunity. They get a room. Maybe they have to share a room. That's what I did. And they get some time to level up. Now, this is where the episode really opens up. There are lots of options in Darga's palace here. So I won't go into detail about all of them, but this is semi-structured but also open. So it can get a little confusing as the GM, but know that some things are required, some things are not. I'll try to go over them. And the adventure does a good job kind of labeling them as different events. So the first one that makes the obvious sense is the execution of Warwick Raiden. So I had my Warwick kind of bring them to the gates of the palace here, and of course the dialogue says, the Hutt's not gonna like seeing you, and Warwick kind of shivering in his boots a bit, and then he's brought in and taken away, and then within a short time of the players being there after they level up, The hut sort of says, you know, I'm going to execute work. Raiden, what say you about that? And this is their first opportunity to try to negotiate, use their skills, and role play if they want to be good and try to save Warwick's life. I believe my players still finding that balance between punishing him did cut off a hand or something, which plays into the theme that I'm working on, which is that sort of limb cutting off cybernetic piece of Star Wars. Event 2, we have the Gladiator Arena. There is a couple options here. They can bet on gladiators in the arena. This is where you can introduce some of the hut's enforcers. He's got a droid named RX. He's got a Rhodian, and of course he's got some Gomorians. So battle axes. RX 7246 is his droid muscle, and yeah, he just sort of tests the players and their interests or their ability to take risks and their skill set. And it's an opportunity if you feel like giving your players back their weapons. That's how I ran it. The Slavers, this event involves someone coming to visit. This is someone seemingly who has purchased slaves from the hut and think that they're worthless and wants their credits back. And again, the hut sort of looks, and this is all building up to when the Imperials visit. So this is an opportunity for the hut to say, hey guys, what do you think? And for the players to hopefully respond accordingly. If not, the hut is disappointed. And you could sort of keep track of points to determine how the hut responds to them or favors them or not. My players did very well with ingratiating themselves with the hut. I had the hut update their suite where they had each individual rooms, which can come into place later. Droid racing. That was a little confusing for my players because we had our B2 battle droid is one of my players, and it seemed like they got a little confused about how the droid racing worked and if the B2 battle droid would have his own little modified ability involving wisdom checks and frying their brain. So check out that event. Definitely a theater of the mind type of event, and can just be sort of a fun thing, but definitely not necessary. And then we have the final roleplay event with the Imperial visitors. They are not explicitly Imperial visitors. They're not blatantly, but they look very much like it, and you say that. And the whole time the players are present, and the hut is looking for advice and assessing the player's ability to negotiate. This is the final test from Darga. Also checks the box for the players to learn a little bit more about the dealings between the hut and the Imperials. Again, the hint here is that it's Tabana gas for slaves. It's fairly obvious it's slaves, so if I could do this over again, I would try to keep as much discussion of slaves out of it, or using a different word and trying to keep it mysterious, like biological assets or something like that. There are other events that take place, including just generally exploring Darga's palace. There is an aviary, and at one point you can have them called to the aviary if Kestra did survive that swoop bike attack, and then she tries to basically get revenge. I had her coming back with some cybernetic enhancements, which will be a theme in the campaign, especially with the big bad evil guy later on. Let's go to the Knife in the Dark real quick. This is one of the reasons I gave my players individual rooms as opposed to grouping them together, so I can have Darga's assassins come in and try to take out the players while they're sleeping. So there's a Twi'lek poisoner involved in this entire episode that if she is not discovered early on, she may come after the players. And there's part of the slaver group that comes by is there's a Wookiee in that group, and yeah, they just opportunity. I didn't even run this, but it's an opportunity to have your players be ambushed in the middle of the night, giving that sense of distrust in Darga's palace. The Money Changer is an interesting an important encounter. My players treated it like it would be a battle, but it is a role-play encounter. It's a elderly Duros by the name of Gome, and he's sort of the money guy for Darga, and he is fairly open. He's old. He's sort of retired. He doesn't really care about giving out information. My players just jumped him and took the information from his like room. But essentially, he's listening to classic Neimoidian music, really loud, like operatic music. And if the players investigate, he lets them know that the Hutt has been siphoning Tabana gas from Bespin and delivering it to the Empire above the planet Bespin. And he doesn't know what the Hutt gets from this besides the Empire leaving him alone. So we get a little bit more information. Overall, one more visit. A visit from 6-6. So 6-6 is the droid that serves Darga the Hutt, and he also serves Switch. Now, I just had Switch in his infinite consciousness pop into 6-6's body and deliver the information directly, but if that's not what you're doing with Switch, you can just have 6-6 share this information. And he says that he's that someone has been communicating to the Empire while the Hutt sleeps, and gives the players a chance to decrypt the message he got. And essentially, if the players are able to decrypt the messages, it reveals that there's sort of regular slave trade deals going on, and that they mention a prisoner in the Hutt's palace, which alludes to Jedi Master Denia. So I had about one event each day, maybe 2 events on another day. One of my players was itching to gamble, so I included some opportunity for that while hinting at the upcoming Sabacc tournament in episode 3. So the Imperials arrive, the players get the information, and that's when we switch from sort of this open-ended, lots of different little events back into really directing them. And that is when we get into the dungeons, they start to hear Force whispers. So I had my players, I built this up a bit by having my Force sensitive player, when they first got to the palace, just a little bit of disturbing dreams, a female voice calling to them, and of course their backstory has a female Padawan, and so they thought it was related to that, and so it was really nice to be able to build it up until all the players were hearing louder whispers that were building up and calling them, especially if they're Force sensitive, into the dungeons of the palace. So they follow the Force whispers, pushing through some Gamorrean guard station, and they find a woman in a medically induced coma. Fairly simple encounter with Gamorrean guards. I had a door that was locked, and that they had essentially like a group key card, so giving players a little bit of a puzzle. You can make it harder if you want, but as you can see, they killed the Gamorreans and just opened up this door, which leads further down, following the Force whispers until they arrived in the very low basement where there's a woman in a medically induced coma, Master Jedi Denia. She hasn't been conscious since the Clone Wars, and so she's confused, she's weak, she has levels of exhaustion. If you watch my campaign, you know that one of my players is a bounty hunter, just interested in credits, and I had Switch give him the bounty of Master Jedi Denia with a really high price tag. So he was motivated. However, our Gungan is a Jedi, Force-sensitive Jedi, and so they found themselves in the room together, one wanting to kill Denia, the other wanting to keep her alive. Really great roleplay scene. And essentially I had to pull some strings to make sure that she didn't die, because she is exhausted, she's unconscious, and it was just great tension. But if you have a player in the similar situation, I encourage you to have a fail-safe, as Denia is pivotal to the whole campaign.
So you're worried about is, you see, Gordon, we already lost. And
Uh,
see, this person can somehow save us. I don't think she can. Look at her right now. What is she going to do?
I look to Exile and I pull out my credits and I say, "Here's 2,800 credits right now, right now.
Yeah, we're 2,800.
How much is her bounty?
This fucking space wizard. Do you think 2,800 is going to change my mind?
How much is her?
Do you want to know? Do you really want to know? Come here. Come here.
Yes.
You want to know? 250,000. Multiply that a bit. That's a lot of fucking money. I can never do this shit again. I could retire, my guy. It's just free right now. I don't have to do anything. I pull out my gun, put a close to her head. I could just end this right now.
I don't think that this is something that we should someone we should kill. Principle of killing an unarmed civilian for funds is something I can't stand for. And I'm going to say one more time. Step back.
We're going to open with Fea because he happens to be right there. I'm going to do a melee attack. My vibro dagger.
So, first off, what I'm doing is the onslaught fighting style. If I hold my lightsaber with two hands, I can do an attack roll to make you prone. Of which I roll this at advantage, and it is an attack roll off of your AC. So that's what I'm doing. But you're knocked down, and I just go, arrogant human. You had no chance to begin with. And I assume she got woken up.
So now the party must escape the palace. They took a lift down into this dungeon, but then the power shut out to the whole palace, so the lift isn't working. Alarms are blaring, and they're bombarded by Gamorreans. They come in through a secret passageway and just sort of pour in, and so they have to plow through them, and hopefully they figure out that the only way out is to follow that secret passage back up to see where it leads. That's when they enter the throne room and gain some very important information before the final battle. So they come into the throne room, and before the standoff with the Neimoidian, the Force-sensitive Neimoidian Major Domo Igrin Demos, first they see a holographic image with our cloaked big bad evil guy, the Inquisitor, who they will do a final battle in episode 10. But first, this adventure does a great job doing a slow burn for the big bad guy. First, they hear about the Inquisitors, then they hear his voice or see this hollow. They get to converse with him like from a ship from afar at the end of episode 3. So they really take their time with making this bad guy sort of a returning character without it being directly returning. So, but first they see a holographic image. Igrin says the Hutt has fled aboard his personal yacht, and in reply, you hear the voice, I am on my way now with the Assiduous. Pray that you have not summoned the Empire on a fool's errand, for the Inquisitorius is not gentle with those who deal with Jedi. So hopefully that tells your players the Hutt is gone, that their final battle is with Igrin, and that if they stay around too long, that there will be a Inquisitor that comes after them. So we cue the epic boss battle in the Hutt's throne room. For this battle, I had some more assumingly defeated characters. In the arena, they defeated RX-7246. I had brought him back. My B2 Battle Droid player tried to steal some B2 arms for a feature to give him 4 arms, but he left them back in the room before the Imperials arrived, and they started following Force Whispers. So I had RX coming in with 4 arms to enhance the battle a little bit. So they defeat Igrin Demos, or they keep him alive to turn him in. I did have a bounty on this HUD, so they had to decide that. I also had these fires in place where they started to get knocked down. I believe it's in the adventure. They can knock down these braziers, which causes the palace to start to burn, which can lead to that sort of more epic finale. And hopefully they realize if they stick around, the palace will crumble around them. So they call Serona on the Banshee. They zip off in this space, and hopefully they saved Denia and bring her to the Resurgence, where they are thanked They get to roleplay recovery and replenishing supplies, and then they level up to level 5 on the Resurgence, and that is where episode 3, The Queen of Air and Darkness, starts. We'll see you then. Thanks for watching.